movie starring Gerard Butler as Rabbie in what has been described as a Scottish Shakespeare in love. It's true. The film apparently will focus on Rabbie's love life. It's going to be a double X, I think.
An hours long.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this side of Burns has long been ignored. It's true, it's been long ignored. This side of Burns is somehow, I feel, particularly pertinent to this supper, because it is a Burns that I know Gwen Sale was interested in. We all know that Burns wrote something like 500 songs and poems. But what is not so well known is that some 250 of these songs and poems were actually banned in the UK and the United States up until as recently as the 1960s. This is a Burns that is rarely talked about, and up till recently even denied. Much of this work can be found in a book called The Merry Muses of Caledonia. Now, this entire book was banned up until the 1960s, and it contains many a poem by Burns himself, and many more that his hand can be seen to have been involved in the making of. A letter written to the editor of the North British Daily Mail is exhibited at the National Library of Scotland, immediately beside the copy of the Merry Muses. And this letter, partly unconscious of its own Freudian imagery, states, "Those who connect the name of Scotia's bard with such work do not deserve to be called countrymen of him who spent the last 10 years of his life purifying the stream of Scottish song and whitening its channels." Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I would like to look at the Burns who was intent on purifying the stream and whitening channels. I believe, in fact, it was Gwen who I first heard mentioned and performed some of this body of work. I wasn't aware of it. It seems fitting, therefore, that at a supper in memory of Gwen, that we should occasionally have a look at the side of Burns that she, as an artist and historian of Burns, was interested in performing. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the unvarnished, real Burns. Not some artificial construct for prigs and wigs. If you dare, join me for a brief walk on the wild side of Burns.
Jack, there's more whiskey in that flask if you need it.
I'm feeling it. Let's explore just a wee bit of his early body and raucous work, written for his friends at an Edinburgh drinking club, and as I say, found mainly, though not exclusively, in the Merry Muses of Caledonia.
On yourself.
The young Burns said, "Say, Puritan, can it be wrong to dress plain truth in witty song? What honest nature says we should do, what every lady does or would do." Of course, this question that Burns was posing was for many years a resounding yes. For while the Merry Muses cannot be regarded as obscene, except by those who regard sex itself as obscene, we all know that that particular group is legion. A large enough group, in fact, to systematically suppress and even deny the authenticity of the work. It has been nothing less than a tight-ass crime inflicted on the genre of the works of Burns by, as I say, prigs and wigs, with major issues of their own. An entire portfolio of his songs and poetry were for many years expunged from the records. It was a labour of love by Gwen Sale to rectify this situation and to perform and reveal some of his finest songs and verses. When I actually went out and had a look at some of these songs, I couldn't help but being amused at the fact that in later years, Robert Burns, to actually put food on the table for his family, he became a family man later on and one thing and another. So to put food on the table for his family, he artfully converted many of these early songs containing explicit sexual references into romantic and sweet songs, rich in pathos and sentimentality. He engineered the songs originally intended for his friends down at the pub for a mass market from which he might then receive an income. As I say, I can't help but find it amusing that these updated versions are the songs that most people are familiar, in fact, almost everybody is familiar with today. And you'll see people up there, the most prim and proper people, blithely singing these beautiful, admittedly, songs. But if they actually knew their pedigree, they would, I'm sure, blush. A good example of a song that was written and then changed later is a song that I've heard performed here a number of times before, and I know many of you are familiar with. And it's a song about undying love and aging gracefully, and it's called John Anderson, My Joe. Now, I'm no singer, so Gwen, please forgive me and all the artists present. I'm going to give it. I've never done this one anywhere but in the back before, so. We drink first. That'll help. It'll help you, it'll help me. John Anderson, my Joe, John, when we were first acquainted, your locks were like the raven, your bonny brow was brent, but now your brow is bald, John, your locks are like the snow, but blessings on your frosty pow. John Anderson, my Joe, John Anderson, my Joe, John, we climbed the hill together, and money a canty day, John, we had one another. Now we mun totter down, John, and hand in hand we'll go, and sleep together at the foot. John Anderson, my Joe. Okay, so that's the version. That's the version that is popular. It's a beautiful version. Undying love, aging gracefully, full of pathos and sentimentality.
Is there a version?
It wasn't quite so sentimental, and it's basically about a wife complaining about her husband not being able to perform. It is sentimentally about 180 degrees removed from its later rebirth. It's similar, but completely different. John Anderson, my Joe John, I wonder what you mean. Till bangs along in the morning and sits late in the evening. You'll wear at your rain, John, and why do you do so? Come sooner to your bed at evening. John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe John. When first that ye began, he had as good a tail trace as any other man. But now it's waxing wan, John, and wrinkles to and fro. I've twaggy ups where I get down. John Anderson, my Joe. When ye begin to come, John, see that ye come your best. When ye begin to hold me, see that ye hold me fast. See that ye hold me fast, John, until that I cry, oh, oh, oh. Your back shall crack or I'll do that. John Anderson, my Joe. Okay, so it's a wee bit different, but both versions are actually successful, but in very different ways. I'm sure there's better examples out there of how these Burns poems and songs were expurgated and changed. But sharper eyes than mine would have to find a better one than that, I think. Burns once said in a letter, there must be some truth in original sin. My violent propensity to body convinces me of it. Lackaday! If that species of composition be the sin against the Holy Ghost, I am the most offending soul alive. Burns, in his body works, deals with many of the same subjects as he does in his more published works. Sex, religion, politics. In his body works, however, when he probes the place of sex in society and in politics, the viewpoint is that of sexual optimism rather than the serious satiric conclusions. In his bawdry works, Burns is often more joyful and exuberant than in the works published for his other market. So, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be relieved to hear at this point that my throat grows dry. But I'd like to thank you for your indulgence in allowing me to stray off the regular and the beaten path generally heard at Burns suppers, and venturing onto the wild side of Burns. And I hope that it might add a little bit to your understanding and enjoyment of some of the works. Burns once said, I have observed that when people who have nothing to say are fairly set out, they do not know when to stop. So I'm going to put the brakes on right now, and with just one last Burns quotation. Then catch the moments as they fly, and use them as ye ought, man. Believe me, happiness is shy, and comes not I when sought, man. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could once more ask you to be upstanding for a toast. To Rowie Burns, who said, and of whom it might be said, a man's a man for all that. And of course also to Gwen Sale, who started this with this most authentic of Burns suppers some 11, 12 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Bard of Scotland, Robbie Burns.
Robbie Burns.